Okay, Ryan here, Texas United Realty. I am going to show you how to do a listing. This is going to be a quick video on a transaction desk. So let me share my screen real quick. Here we go. So first, you're going to want to go to your HAR. The reason being is for two reasons. You want to do check over here on the left-hand side, transaction desk. It's going to open up. While that's opening up, I'm going to go back to the same page. I'm going to access MLS. Here's why. I have my address. I want to look up. I want to look up tax. Go to matrix tax. That's just the one I like to use. And I'm going to look up here. Make sure you pick the county that is the county that your listing is in. I'm going to use an address. You don't have to put in the whole whole address. See, as you can see down here, matches are found. So I don't have to put in the full address. And I know what my seller's name is. If you obviously you should because you're taking the listing, right? So I'm going to use this one as an example. What I want to copy is the tax ID number right here. This first one. Copy. You see that? Also, you want to, for future reference, you're going to want to get familiar with this legal description. That's used a lot in contracts. So just make sure you understand. And then another thing is, if you want to know if it's in a MUD, you're going to look, what does it do? All of it here. Boom, I found it. MUD 46. So it is in a MUD. Those are all things you're going to need to ask. I always ask, make sure I get up front the seller's disclosure. I get that with the listing agreement, or I get it and I'll show you how in this particular platform, or I meet them to have it signed soon after they or filled out and signed soon after I get them to do the listing agreement. Some of my sellers don't want to do it digitally. They would rather me email it to them and then fill it out, or me go there and then fill it out and sign and initial it. So seller's disclosure, I asked them for a copy of the survey. Of course, if you get the survey, they need to get a notarized T47. And then I asked them for and then I get the MUD notice. There's ways about doing that. You typically need to go online to that certain MUD district. So in this case, I would need to go to MUD 46, or I would need to go online and see if they have it online. And if they don't, then I have to call them. Sometimes, if you have a good relationship with your title company, you can call your title company that's going to be getting this once you have a contract and say, look, I've got a listing. I'm going to send it your way once I get a contract, but I need your help getting the MUD. And oftentimes the title company will help that. So seller's disclosure, survey, and T47 and MUD notice. And then sometimes, and that's more rare, you need the PID notice as well, Public Improvement District. And that's the main things that I get up front. Of course, if they give you bonuses like an invoice that the AC was repaired, I put that into the hard documents, or maybe a floor plan, things like that. So we're getting off subject here. I copied that tax ID number right there. That's important. Here's why. You notice I already went into the transaction desk. I'm going to go to create at the top. You hit that speedometer, then create transaction. I'm going to give it the same name as the address. You can call it whatever you want, but I usually make sure, because you're going to have to go back and reference this. Template. If it's a listing, even if it's a lot listing, even if it's a house listing, you need to do, this is for condos, this is for a residential listing. Okay. Import data. It's important that you do import data via the tax this time because we don't have it on MLS. And if you used an old MLS number, it's probably going to put someone else as the listing agent. So in this situation, it's best to click the realist tax. Watch, follow. What county? Harris. Yes, I believe it was Harris. Yes, Harris County. If it's in a different county, you need to check a different county. Tax ID number, paste. I am the listing agent. Yes. Make sure that box is checked, please. Hit create. Now it's going to import all the address and boom, I didn't have to type any of that in. So I don't know why people aren't using Transaction Desk. First things first, I always add my contact. It grabbed this from the tax records. Again, I didn't have to type that in. And all I got to do is add his email, add it to address book by checking that and hit save. Okay, pretend I did that. I hit save. Now, just go on the right-hand side. Just go down the tabs. You don't need to, you're not going to need to do all of them, but I'm just saying, if you get lost in this, just go to the right and start. Okay, Ryan said contacts first. Yes. Now, right below that is forms. Click that. Correct. All your forms that you need are in here. All of them that you need. Again, I didn't have to do any work to get these in there. Now, there is some forms that I like to use. Like I still like to use the wire fraud form. I'm just gonna let me slow that down. If you want to add a form, you go up here and hit add, and you do not have to click these boxes. That's more confusing to some people than not. So just search it. I remember it said it was about something about wire, but I can't remember exactly wire fraud. Just type in wire or part of wire. Oh, there it is. Wire fraud warning. That's what it's called. Okay, check the box. Hit add. So at the bottom, it added my wire fraud. Okay, by the way, this bottom data input sheet is a very good page for you to just print out. I don't personally have my sellers sign this. That's just me, but a lot of people do. But I like to print it out and take it with me when I go back to the house, maybe to get maybe to get the measurements of the house or put my super and sign on the door. Um, I want to make sure, well, your sign cannot go up until the house is at least coming soon on MLS. Just remember, your for sale sign cannot go up unless it's on the MLS. And coming soon is on the MLS. So just keep that in mind. But maybe if I go back to my house to pick up the seller's disclosure or the survey, or anyway, you're gonna have to go to the house. Maybe even um, when you're meeting with them for the listing agreement, you can bring this because you're gonna need to know all this information in order to put it on MLS. Everything here. Dimensions of the room, of the house. Some of this can be found on an old MLS listing. So maybe you don't necessarily need to ask the seller all of this. Some of this is common sense just by going to the house and looking around. Or some of it's on old MLS, but really you want to have an idea in your head what you need to have to put it on MLS. And a walkthrough of the house with your pad and, your pad and paper is a good idea when you're doing that listing agreement, and just tell them, can you show me around, and take your notepad. And people love to show you around their house. Trust me. It's their pride and joy, and it should be. So, okay, we're gonna get out of that by just go back to get out, save and exit right here at the top. Some people have asked me, well, I want my mentor after I fill this out to review this before I send it to signatures. Okay, I'll show you that. But let me show you this first. So check this out. Information about broker services, just click it and it opens up. Sometimes it takes them a second and you make sure that it's all filled out, and it is. I didn't even have to do anything. What did I always say? Save your work, save and exit. Residential. So again, top to bottom. I know these are nothing needs to be filled out on these, and the names are already going to be on there because I already added the name into contacts. So check, watch, listing agreement. Well, actually, it imported it from the tax records, and I just double check and make sure the name is correct. But look, it's already on there and the address. I just need to add his phone and email. And if I added his email in the contacts, the email would have auto-populated here. That's why I said start with the contacts. Oh, my email didn't show up. So I'm having to type that in. And that's got the office phone number automatically in there. That's okay. I might add my phone number, and that is my phone number. Wrong spot, but you get the point. My email's there, my phone number's there. Lot 3, block 1, it doesn't give me the addition. But what did I show you earlier? I said I'd make this video short, so I'm trying to hurry up. Legal description. Lot 3, block 1, this is called the addition. Just copy that. And man, this is so hard to paste, right? I'm telling y'all, this is the easiest way to do it. Exclusions, you need to make sure that you ask them when you do. When I do the listing agreement, I asked, sorry, listing presentation. When I first show up to the house, shake the hand, the small talk, hey, lovely house. My next thing is after we have the kind of the meet and greet is, can you show me around your beautiful home? And that's where I got my paper and pen, and I'm writing what upgrades they did, how old the roof old it is, how old they said the AC is, what was replaced, what was remodeled, what additions did they do, blah 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 blah. Because if you don't need this for MLS, agents are going to call and ask you, hey, how old is that AC unit? Well, I got it all in my notes. Um, then when I'm doing that, I see, in my last presentation, I saw a mounted TV on the wall, and I said, "Hey guys, just real quick, I just need to explain about exclusions. If it's attached to this house in any form or fashion, and you want to keep it, I want to know. But you also have to take it a little step further because usually they go, no, we're good. Just sell the house, get us the most money you can." And I say, okay, just to make sure, those security cameras that looks like you probably installed, they have to go with the house unless you tell me because they are attached. The curtains, those beautiful curtains that you have over there, I understand that they would go beautiful with this listing, and I actually would like them to stay, but I have to tell you that unless we list it as an exclusion, they will go an exclusion actually in the contract, not just the listing agreement. The actual contract is the one that really means it all. And I say, but I need to know this now. And then all of a sudden, he starts going, well, those security cameras, I think I want to keep them, to his wife. And she goes, yeah, they were kind of expensive. And I say, well, that's why I have this conversation because I need to know because it has to be an exclusion in the contract, the 1-to-4 family contract. And she goes, well, those curtains, what do you think? And I say, listen, I understand about the security cameras. I think it would be a good selling piece, but if you want to take them, that's fine. That's just something I need to know. Also, I want to know about the fridge because it's going to come up. The buyer's agents are going to ask you, and I say, and I want to know if you're really going to take those curtains. I think that they should stay, but if you really want them, then we can list them as an exclusion. So these are conversations that you need to be having as you're doing this, and you need to be taking notes because if you forget, and this particular couple said they wanted to keep the fridge. So I wrote that down because I'm not going to remember this in a week, 2 weeks, maybe 30 days from now. And if the buyer's agent asks for it, I want to be able to say, no, the fridge is not included, or put the fridge is not included on agent remarks. Sorry for rattling. It's just very important. It's also very important while I'm adding this to call the HOA, and I also do this and ask them what the HOA fees are. Both verify the yearly fees maintenance fees, and then also verify what they charge for two things. What they charge at closing to not just transfer the property, but also what I asked this question, what do you charge at closing to transfer the buyer, the name of this property from the seller to the buyer? What all fees do you charge? Because oftentimes they charge a transfer fee, they charge an exit fee, an entrance fee. They love the what is it called? I'll think of it in a minute. They use sneaky words, but they love to charge fees at closing. And that is also negotiable on your HOA addendum, which I have a YouTube video on, by the way. Um, what is that sneaky word they use called? I'll think of it in a minute. Okay, exclusions. Anyway, that's where you would type the exclusions. Owners Association is or is not. It usually is. This is the list price that you would have discussed with them after you did your CMA, and they said, yeah. Listing begins on blank date. This is the tricky part. I mean, usually I make it pretty soon because I can't do I can't do anything other than, discuss what strategies I'm going to use to help sell their property. I can't start doing any kind of marketing or anything unless um, I have a listing agreement in place. But let me caution you on a different paragraph. So let's say I'm going to be taking pictures, on the 8th, um, then I probably want to start it on the 7th or even the 8th because I really need to be under a listing agreement even when I do pictures. Just it covers our basis for liability reasons. But I'm going to show you something else that that is that you're going to want to also think about. I usually do my listing agreements for 6 months. Okay, that's already filled out. That is the total commission. And I'll show you where we split it up here in a minute. That is already there because our office is in Harris County, not where the property is at. It says, when will we file this on MLS? Broker will file this listing in the MLS. This is automatically checked. In the MLS, within 5 days, this listing begins. So if that box is checked, you need to make sure that if you put here the 7th of February, and the pictures are being done the 8th, then when do you have to put that in the MLS? 5 days from when the listing begins. So that would be 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. It better be in MLS by the 12th. But there is another option. It says you can do an option of B. Seller instructs the broker not to file this listing in MLS until blank days after this date of the listing for the following purposes. So it said it could be seller is still doing make ready, or seller needs to clean up, declutter the house, or declutter the garage, or paint the living room. So you can extend it out further. Of course, your seller would have to agree to that, but that's a conversation that y'all would have. Okay. Very rarely would the seller instruct the broker not to file it in MLS. That is extreme. In 20 years of doing this, I think I might have had it happen to me once. Um, the showing companies, you're going to want to use Harsh Showing Smart to schedule your showings. Trust me, you will. And that's actually free. That's actually right here. This is this is the phone number, and this is how you access your Showing Smart, where you access your transaction desk. Participants, this is automatically in here. This is meaning that you're going to pay your seller is going to pay the other broker that represents the buyer 3% of the sales price. If they're representing the buyer, if they're a sub agent, I mean, you can change this and still, if your seller agrees, you can still pay a sub agent 3%. And a sub agent is an agent that doesn't have representation of the buyer. And we can go into that at another time. but still showed them the property. Um, if you have a buyer's representation with your buyer, you are not a subagent. If that you have a signed buyer's rep with them. If their other broker represents, oh, non-MLS. I usually do I give non-MLS 3% because I want even non-MLS. That's rare for a brokerage. The whole brokerage has to be non-MLS or non-HAR, and that's rare. Usually that's in small towns. Um, and even then, if they bring me a buyer, I want my conversation to the seller is I don't care if it's a smaller town agent that doesn't have membership to our HAR, our MLS. Still give them the incentive to bring their buyer and let's get this thing sold. That's just my personal opinion. But and that's going to be rare anyway. If they're that's going to be rare if they're not on HAR or MLS. Intermediary status, that's just again, if you're going to do an intermediary, your seller has to give permission for that. Again, that's rare, but this is setting that permission. And if they don't want that, then you have to click no, that they won't allow, or your seller does not want an intermediary to be done. Again, does not want this on the internet. That again, that's rare that you're going to check either one of those. This usually most of the time you're going to be checking those 4 boxes. If it's a lot you're selling, you're not going to check VA or FHA because um, FHA and VA have to be a primary residence, and a lot doesn't have a house on it to live in. But if it's a house, usually your seller's not going to offer owner financing. I've had one guy do it recently with me, but it's going to be rare. There's not a USDA option on here. That's interesting. So anyway, make sure the seller answers those questions. If it's in a mud, then you're going to go back and you're going to, again, I gave you kind of a little warning about this. Which mud? I showed you. Where are we at? Now, all of a sudden I'm lost. HC mud 46. Okay. One that, see, it gives our limits of liability. That's why you really need this signed before you start doing any kind of work or marketing. Of course, we're going to check seller's disclosure. If it's built before 1978, you need to check that box and include that addendum. If they're providing a survey, you need to check that box. It's in a mud. It's not in a PID. Request for owners. Nope, we don't need that. All you got to do is follow. Again, we have these checklists, which are pretty cool. Oh, sorry, that's the commission one. This is my checklist. And all I got to do is follow the checklist for a listing. Now, I know all those are in there. DA, I'm not doing now because I don't have a contract. I don't even know what the sales price is, but I can do these are in there. And I don't need these. Okay, if needed, seller's disclosure of lead-based paint. This house is not built before 1978. It's actually newer, a lot. It's almost brand new. It doesn't have a septic, so I don't need this one, but it is on mud, so I know I need to get that form. They do have a survey. I haven't got it from them yet, but I know I need to get him to notarize the T47. I'll pull up the T47 here in a minute. Intermediary, I don't know if it's going to be an intermediary. I don't have a buyer yet. Condominium resale, it's not a condo. I don't have an addendum yet. Referral agreement, it's not a referral or a relo. I don't have a buyer yet, so I don't have their pre-approval letter. Condominium, okay. And then we, of course, haven't gone to closing yet for that. But there is your cheat sheet right there. Cheat sheet. The office will have it. General information, notice to a buyer, yep. And we don't require that form anymore. We used to, I believe. Okay, so one most forgets is I. You need to ask them if they are foreign person, as defined by federal law or not. And that does matter, because if they are a foreign person as defined by federal law, then oftentimes there is additional taxes they have to pay just to sell their property at closing, and the title company will collect that. And it could be thousands of dollars. So is you need to really find this out, because things could not be happy at closing if they end up having to pay thousands of dollars more than they thought. And there is a foreign tax, or can be a foreign tax. Let me just make that clear. And we're not going to get into that. That's for CPAs. But I'm telling you, if there's a foreign tax, then you need to dive deeper with that to see, or sorry, a foreign person, if you need to dive deeper into that and see if a foreign tax will have to be paid. And then there's just your signature page. So again, save your work, save and exit. And remember, we're going to call the HOA and ask them for what the fees are at closing, and what the fees are for the title company to draw documents, or get the documents needed to go to closing. There's two separate fees from the HOA other than the yearly fees. The yearly fees are going to be there regardless. But the other two fees that are paid, because the property is transferring to someone else, is fees paid at closing. I still don't remember that fee called. It's disguised as transfer fee, capitalization fee. Yes. Entrance fee, exit fee. They disguise it a million different ways. I asked them, what all fees do you guys charge at closing, or when the property is transferred from one person to another? And then verify the yearly HOA. And then lastly, ask them, when the title company needs your documentation, uh, resale certificate, or just the package that it's called I'll show you in a minute. The HOA, I'll show you. Mandatory. I know I'm going off on a tangent, but property and management. Let's add this so I can show y'all real quick. I have a YouTube video on this, so I'm not going to go dive too deep, but this is C is negotiating the fee, the transfer fee, the fee, all the fees, entrance fees, exit fees, the fee I just said that I forget again, at closing, all the fees at closing to transfer the property from one name to another. You notice it says all the fees charged associated with the transfer of the property. So usually the buyer's agent will say 250 here, right? Well, guess what? I've seen all the fees to do with transferring of the property at closing to be $2,000 before. So if it says the buyer will pay up to 250 and seller shall pay any excess. So let's say it was $1,250. The HOA told you that on the phone. And the buyer's paying 250. What's the rest? $1,000. Guess who's paying that? Your seller. Guess who will be mad if you don't explain that to them? Your seller. You. I'm mad at you. And sometimes it'll come out of your commission. Trust me. And it's only going to happen to you once before you don't make that mistake again. And then D, authorization. This is who pays for the title company. If the title company requires information, which they always will, from the association, such as status of dues, special assessments, violation of covenants and restrictions, then basically the documents that they need for closing, then who pays for that? Buyer or seller? Again, it's negotiable. I meant to mean subdivision information. Basically, subdivision information is all of this. The title company usually doesn't necessarily need, unless it's like a condo, the resale certificate. But don't be mistaken that oftentimes they need if buyer does not require the subdivision information or an updated resale certificate, and the title company requires information from the association, such as the dues, meaning they usually do need status of the dues, etc., then who pays for that? No, I'm going off on a tangent here, but that's really important when you're taking a listing, as you can see. Now, I'm going to go to Wireford warning. I know will be okay. Well, so let's say you're saying, well, I want to make sure that my mentor reviews my listing agreement before I go to the signature page. Well, check it. Then hit the basket, just like you're on Amazon shopping. And now you're going to download to a zip. I usually go download it to a PDF. You could probably just do this and email it directly out of here. That's a pretty cool option. Let's click that. Yeah. Add your mentor in here and then hit send and check send as attachment. I like attachments. Or I usually have them download it as a PDF. Save as PDF. Yes, save. And it downloads it and it opens it up. And then I have them save it to their computer and then email it to me. But either way would be fine. That way I can review it. So let's out our checklist. Let's make that. Okay, so you're saying, well, the mentor reviewed it and it's good to go. So here's what we're going to do. Next one is signings. Add. You're going to add a signing, basically. Task. I'm not going to spell it all out because I can't be bothered right now. Atascocita. My computer is a Mac and it loves to autocorrect. Okay, save. First, I'm going to add participants. Add from transaction. Again, right-hand side, go from top to bottom. I'm going to add my seller. I'm going to add me because who needs to sign the listing agreement? Me and the seller. Hit select. It's warning me because I didn't put his email in. Then I'll do that later. We're going to add a document. So let's go back. Next, you're going to go to documents, which it's already took me there. I'm going to add a document because I don't have anything for anybody to sign. I'm going to add everything that I want him to sign. The seller's disclosure, I'll show you. It's going to give bubbles for him to fill out. So you don't technically have to do it in person if you don't want to, if they're computer savvy. There's no lead-based paint. There's no PID. And I remember I just like my people signing a wire fraud. I don't need that HOA addendum because I just added that for you guys. I don't have my seller sign HOA, a hard data input, and I don't need them to sign the checklist. By the way, there is a checklist in your zip forms. Sorry, I call it zip forms, in your transaction desk. So here's kind of the important thing. You want to go to signers, back to signers, double click. It's kind of weird how you got to double click, then double click again. It's 2 double clicks and I know it's weird, but that gets you here. So let's say there wasn't, and some of the initials are automatic. So let's go to one that's not automatically there. Boom. Okay, so you need to go slow on this and make sure everything's initialed and signed. So I'm going to click down, drag, and drop. Click down, drag it, drop it. And then I'm going to go to this down arrow, click myself, drag, drop. The dates are already pre-done. Okay, and that's already there. And that's already there. The listing agreement's got us both on there. Let me go. I'm saving time because I need to end this. But it's pre-bubbled for my seller to bubble it. Don't add it if you just think that they're not going to be able, they're not computer, real savvy. And you just rather do it in person with, them fill it out in person or on a piece of paper or on the form itself with the pen. You do not fill out the seller's disclosure. That's for the seller too. And don't forget them to initial it and sign. Even if it's an ink pen, they have to still initial and sign it. But what I wanted to show you is, let's say you added it by accident, then go back to docs, click seller's disclosure, and then just hit remove file, and it'll take it out. Let me see, is there another way as well? Let's try to remove that. No, I think that's the only way you can. So, and then if you hit next, it doesn't have my seller sign. There's there's one thing that you should, let me just add like my email so I can hit the next button. Okay, save. Okay, if I hit the next button, I want to do a reminder every day. And then hit send, and it'll send to their email and your email, and you and them need to check their email and sign it. It's just like DocuSign or very similar. I do not want to send this because I don't have his correct email in there. Actually, I want to take it out, and I want to show you one more thing. Dadgummit, it wouldn't. Okay. Okay. No, I didn't want to save it. Okay, so I'm back at my dashboard. If you want to check on your signing, just hit the pin. And then you can see 0 of 2 have completed it. And then once you click on the 3 bubbles, you can edit the signing, duplicate it. So you can actually duplicate this if you want, if you have something that you need to change, and then you don't want to, we'll go do another video on that. You don't want to have to redrop all the initials and everything. Signing details, delete. If I would have sent it, it would have given me an option to resend to all unsigned parties, meaning what if they say I didn't get it? And then once they complete it, then it's going to give you the bubbles. Sorry, this isn't complete either. It's going to give you the bubbles to say view signed PDF. And that's where you can save it to your computer and upload it to your paperless pipeline. But I'm going to go back to my speedometer. I'm going to click back on this listing. And I'm going to go to documents. This is what I wanted to show y'all. Below signings is documents. And then here is my checklist that I just showed y'all. Pretty cool, huh? Okay. I'll do another video on duplicating the signature package. I already did one on duplicating a transaction, but I can do one on that at another time. All right. I hope y'all found this interesting, or at least helpful. Get out of here.